Hello everybody, this is Kohlingen Gamer 1 and Dyne, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy VI.
And look at my fabulous new sprite! I actually look like a boss now! Hey, you changed party members! That's cheating!
I told you when we were in between parts that I redid this with new party members.
Well, you need to tell that to your viewers right now!
Okay, viewers, yeah, just for the record, yeah, after thousands of failed attempts at defeating Kefka,
That's hyperbole, you know.
I had to redo that whole thing you saw in part 13, but with different party members, just so I can feel more prepared for this fight.
Yeah, this is probably the heaviest hitting party you can have. You could probably replace one of them with Gao, especially if you have the stray cat. Would not hurt to have one of the magic users for healing, but again, don't think you've won! This battle's already over. I'll be back! But yeah, heavy hitters, he'll go down in a couple rounds. That peace ring is a nice little accessory, if I remember. Ah! I won't forget this!
Alright, peace rings accessory, if you remember what?
It's an accessory that prevents confusion, if I remember correctly.
Ah, okay.
Fairly handy relic. And if you listen carefully, when Kefka disappeared, you'll hear the second little poof sound. That's all the other soldiers disappearing at the same time, if there are any left. Now we finally come face to face with the Esper. Bad spot lock. Told you. And yet he goes right back in the same spot! Well, he's not alone. Just have three people hanging on for dear life. At this time, there's no Magitech armor.
And Tritok.
This is actually one of the most impactful scenes the first time playing the game, given what happens next. There's that blue flame again. And she changed. Oh, that scream, that just... Even for Super NES sound effects, that is bone-chilling.
Reminds me of that chapter named Bone-Chilling Adventure from Super Paper Mario.
And the group's just hanging on the side of the cliff still. Gao's even showing off, doing it one-handed. And a nice little showcase of the overworld map and what it's like to fly. Unfortunately, we're not in control. Poor Terra has kind of lost her mind for a little bit.
But she believes she can fly.
She believes she can touch the sky? Does she think about it every night and day?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
And Locke kind of becomes the point of view character for right now. Doesn't say how long he was out for, though. She changed into a something and took off. She looks like an Esper. So perhaps Terra herself is an Esper. The next mission of the game is to find her and find out exactly what happened.
Yep.
Saw her screaming across the sky to the west, so that was a pretty long scream. Oh, forget Banon. He did nothing in the last battle.
Yeah.
The story continues on. You split your party into two groups. You have to return to Figaro Castle as said. I highly recommend Edgar, Sabin, and Celeste at least. The last one It doesn't matter too much. But if you want the most story progression, in terms of backstory, you want Locke, Celeste, and the twins. So let's see if you go with that group. Yep. Because if you go to Figaro Castle, you can view a scene between Edgar and Sabin if you go rest. And one of the towns on the northwest side is Locke's hometown. But the stores and everything in Narsh is open. We come in here. There's actually some free treasure in there, including a pretty good weapon for Locke. These stores have the best equipment available at this point. And the relic shop and item shop are also handy. And you don't need to use the inn because the free healing in the beginner's hall is still open. I'm just going to go right to it.
Yep.
There's Locke's tent with a little crescent moon on top. Yeah, whoever's on point has different tents, but they're not all unique. Some of them are shared between characters. And the long battle is over.
Yep. Which leaves the question as to where we go next.
Back to Figaro Castle. So we can see exactly what they did when they submerged into the ground at the beginning of the game. And these are some of the easiest enemies in the game. They go down quickly. Especially with overkill like blitzes. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the game, the enemies in the desert are a pain then. They're cake now.
So the enemies still remain the same regardless of what level you're at?
Yep. Yeah, the enemies don't start scaling to your level until Final Fantasy VIII.
Which is one that I will never get to play.
It wasn't that bad. Now, if you continue on your way through here... Yep, he hasn't been here for 10 years, so of course he wants to check things out. And he will either rejoin you if you rest or if you try to leave. But when you rest, you'll see some more backstory between him and Edgar. And you'll see how Edgar's character development completed before the events of the game began. And there are new tools in the shop as well, if you want to go shopping for those. And put Edgar in point to get a discount. Other than that, you just have to go into the engine room on the left.
Yep. Basement 1. That kind of reminds me of a Link to the Past. How there are more than one basement.
Yep. Basement 2 is just down that second set of stairs. But when Kefka attacked earlier, the castle just submerged and retreated across these mountains, completely out of reach. Just to another convenient desert spot right here.
Yep, we're heading for Kohlingen.
Please remain seated until the castle comes to a complete stop. Yeah, so you rejoined your party since you didn't view the backstory scene. Restepping on the castle takes you right back in. And Kohlingen is to the north here. Got new enemies in here. These vultures are super annoying because they have abilities that can reduce your HP by half. And they aren't weak to anything in particular you might have. That Shimsham is it. And they'll usually use it if they're the last enemy on screen. But the enemies in the desert are the same as on the other side of the continent, so these guys are easy. Another battle down. And Kohlingen, there are more equipment shops in here. They're all in the inn, if I remember correctly. I think it's the guy behind the counter in the cafe. I'd have to double check.
Okay.
But this place is close enough to figure out where you can just get free healing in the castle. If you talk to the people here, you'll find out more about Terra. Ah, the wisdom of a child. Now, in here is actually the second part of Locke's backstory in town. But it reveals a very important piece of his past. So his treasure is quite safe. Yep. Get the same cutscene.
Yeah.
If you examine that girl on the bed, you'll get a piece of Locke's backstory.
Yeah, I eventually learned that.
And there's actually a house on the northwest corner of town to reveal the first part. Okay, the equipment shop is north of the inn. I can't believe I forgot that. The edge door is kind of the highbrow town of the world, but it really doesn't make much difference. That's one of my favorite lines in the game, though. You're not from around here, huh? You look dorky. Unfortunately, you'll only get that line if you don't have Celeste in your party. You may notice that Terra still shows up on the equipment list, even though she is currently out of the party. But she has also had all of her equipment removed, too. And you won't be able to re-equip her until she rejoins much later. Okay, Peace Ring protects against both Berserk and Confusion.
It says Berserk and Muddle.
Yeah, Muddle is Confusion in this. They didn't have enough room to write Confusion in the English text, so they wrote Muddle. It means the same thing.
Oh, okay.
And one thing to do before you sell equipment in this game is run through your characters in the equipment menu and make sure they have the best that they can have so you don't accidentally sell something really good. The flail and full moon weapons are super useful because they are weapons that will do the same amount of damage even if the person is in the back row. So you can put those people in the back row, they'll take half damage and still dish out full damage.
Yeah, but sadly I don't have enough money for them.
They're just expensive. And one little tip: if you're in the equip menu, and if you push L or R, it'll cycle between the characters, so you don't have to go back and forth every time.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. So that's a nice little shortcut. And too bad the items don't automatically sort. You'll have to do that. Yeah, selling relics that you're not using is actually good for money. You just have to be careful. They have to make sure that you're selling relics that you can rebuy later if necessary, because there are some you can only get in chests and such, and cannot get them again once you sell them once. Yeah, selling old weapons and armor that are obviously outclassed are no longer necessary. Are the best way to get money, or you can just go out and grind. And if you buy one of those flails and equip it to Celeste, she will not be able to use her runic ability, but in all honesty, it's not overly worth it. Yeah, who's Rachel? Oh, Rachel was that woman in the basement over there. We never figure out exactly what happens to this house. It's just ruined and never got rebuilt.
Ah, it must have gotten destroyed in a fire.
Oh, perhaps. Yep, there's just evidence that this town was attacked by something at some point, whether it was a natural disaster.
I do remember, spoiler alert, there is an upcoming scene where there is a house on fire.
That's later. Okay, this is a piece of Locke's backstory. I'm not going to say much right now because this music... I'm just going to let it speak for itself. I cannot say anything right here, otherwise I'm just going to break down sobbing.
Now, why would he blame Locke for the loss of her memory?
He's angry. He's just taking it out on Locke because he doesn't really know how to handle it.
Looks like someone needs to take a lap and cool down.
But since she lost her memory, that really doesn't make anything better for him. This is also a suitable explanation as to why Locke is so adamant about protecting both Terra and Celeste. He does not want to go through that same experience again.
It all adds up. Alright, till next time, this is Gold League Gamer 1 and Dyne. Later, folks.
Bye.